Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? This is Marco Junta, and my friends here are David and Steve. The missing block is Chris, and he will not be joining us today because he's feeling a little bit under the weather. He's got we cold. We were talking pre-production about Apple, and we're going to continue that discussion about Apple and the software update woes, including the one from the last one, right? The Wi-Fi and the emails.
The latest Yosemite update.
Yeah, why don't you take us out, David?
So Apple pushed out the Yosemite operating system, in my opinion, a bit too early. Made it very easy for people to download and get access to, which was great. It looks good. It's in sync brand-wise with the rest of their products, right? So now it looks like the OS 8.1, the iOS 8.1 stuff. It's got that same flat kind of look to it, which is nice. I'm personally a fan. I think it looks really good. However, they completely managed to hose Wi-Fi capabilities in it, where your Wi-Fi basically freezes and drops on a very regular basis. They've already released version 10.10.1 earlier this week, which was supposed to fix some of those issues. We're looking at an article today in CIO-today.com. They have an article on their page dated from, where is this from? From November 21st, actually, 1:31 p.m. from Shirley Sillick. And basically, she's writing about this update that came out saying the already cooking update 10.10.2, which will be the second update coming out to fix the Wi-Fi problems, because they didn't fix it with the first one, even though they claim they address it. They never said fixed in the update release, because I actually read it when I applied it. They said they address it. So my personal experience is, when I'm using it, Wi-Fi cuts in and out, which is, I'm running a fairly new MacBook Air, so my Skype calls tend to periodically, for no rhyme or reason, just sort of hang on me, but come back. I don't actually lose the call. It just sort of hangs and goes back and forth throughout the day. But the thing that's absolutely maddening, that's not even really listed in this thing that they claim they fixed, is the Microsoft Exchange synchronization is completely hosed now. I don't know if any of you guys are using a fairly new MacBook that has these issues, but it's pretty interesting that Apple's kind of loosened the reins and how fast they're releasing these updates now, and they're plagued with problems.
Yeah, and I think it's reflective not only across the MacBook platform and their OS X, right, but the iOS is symptomatic of it too, right? They came out with iOS 8, and I think there's been at least 3, maybe 4 updates to that since it came out in the last 6 weeks. Right,
Yeah,
the latest just last week that still is come out and says it's buggy. I put another article in the stream for everybody to look at.
Nice, yeah.
On 8.11.
Well, the latest 8.11 update, just to comment on that, that's pretty funny. My wife has a iPad too, and when we put the update to get the latest 8.1 version prior to this one on, it slowed it down to a point that it became really painful to use.
Yeah.
The 8.11 update, if you read it, says it addresses issues with older iPhone 4s, the 4Ss, and the iPad 2s. We put that update on, and it literally, in this case, fixed all of her issues.
Yeah.
For her, it was great. It's like really fast and worked properly now. It's back the way it's supposed to be.
So the interesting part is, says that the Wi-Fi is not experienced by all the machines.
I believe that. I'm sure if you have a brand new machine with the latest Wi-Fi radio in it, you probably don't have the issue.
It doesn't start working that way. What they're saying is that it's sporadic throughout the machines. That's one of their issues.
That's a big issue then. How do you troubleshoot and fix that properly?
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that my biggest pet peeve in the enterprise and Apple is the inability to work well with Exchange.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is that a problem that you see a lot, Steve, after you finish drinking your coffee?
Yeah, I mean, most people are on the Mac platforms, right? The Apple platforms still don't use Exchange at least as their front-end client, because it's too, it's too buggy.
Well, the Outlook is horrible.
Yeah,
There's
Outlook
a
is
beta
just
version.
terrible.
Right, there's a beta version of Outlook available now that's supposed to be the Outlook of all Outlooks for Mac that's supposed to be coming out imminently for Office 365 users.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet, so can't comment on it. But I'm still using the 2011 version, and all I can say is it is not good.
Mhm.
Well, the problem with Outlook is that it was never Outlook, right? It's really Entourage,
Yeah.
which is a separate company that they bought, and I don't remember where they bought it. So when Microsoft wanted to be on the Apple, they actually bought a company that had a email client, and then they made it look like Outlook over the years, but it was just never done that. I mean, the right way of doing this is to get parallels.
Yeah. Just
Well,
run it.
it is. I agree with you, but it defeats the purpose.
Well, no, the way the new one runs, yeah, it really doesn't defeat the purpose. The problem is you have to have a machine with a lot of memory.
Yeah.
Right, and when you say a lot of memory, can you qualify that? Are we talking 8 gigs? Are we talking 12 or 16 gigs?
Well, I have 8.
See, I
And
don't think 8's really enough to do it properly.
yeah, eight's not working for me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. And you also want to have, do you really want an i5, or you need to go up to an i7, or even like an i9 type of machine to do it?
I don't know. Well, first of all, Apple doesn't make an i9.
I know that.
Mhm.
But all I have is 7s at the house.
A 7 should be fast enough to do it.
Yeah, it's. I don't have a problem with the speed of the machine. I think it's the memory management of the machine because when I put parallels and using parallels, it just kills it.
And that's what I was getting at. Performance-wise, it's a problem. If you have a very large Exchange mailbox on a parallel instance, you'll bog down your machine unless your machine is uber fast, and that means uber expensive.
Yeah, I think if I was running 16 or 32, that wouldn't be a problem. But I feel that when I connect up, there's a problem on the other side because I think it's got too many packets going into my enterprise network.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to fix.
I think the interesting question is, as more and more of these, consumer devices, the Macs and the Androids, the iPhones get into the enterprise, how do enterprises deal with this, right? If we have trouble using it as a consumer at home, you got to run, you know, 2 virtual OSs on your Mac to get your Exchange working.
Nobody's going
right?
to do that. That's the reality, unless you're one of us.
Right.
They don't, right? Because if you're sitting at well, first of all, I think the enterprise at some point will have to come up with their own email client.
Mm-hmm.
See, am I too low on the volume? Can you guys hear me okay?
No, you sound good.
You sound good.
So I think that they have to come up with their own client because of security.
Well, yeah, and we've had this conversation
Yeah.
before about the whole idea about how email is effectively broken for the enterprise in most cases.
Well,
Even
I don't know if it's broken as a tool. I think it's broken as a security and compliance, a risk and compliance behavior, right?
well, that's what I'm saying. But people are going around email too, so you're going to have to capture other modes of communication into that same platform theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, every conversation that I've had, there's really no way of keeping somebody from receiving an email and sending it out to somebody else from a different email box.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you use Good, I guess, Good. Steve, do you use that?
No.
Do you have customers that use Good or some sort
Yes.
of?
Yeah. We don't use it, but I do have customers that use it. Yeah.
And does that sandbox all your email?
It kind of does. Yeah.
But you can still save a document locally, can't you?
Yeah. I can't remember if you can or not with Good.
I think you can.
If you can open up an attachment.
Yeah, you can save it. You can generally save it locally if you can open it.
There's got to be some workarounds, right?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it because Good, I think, is on his way out.
I think I see it less and less. You see more of the mobile irons and the those types of solutions.
And I think mobile iron, you can walk around, can't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can get around all of them. I mean, none of them are bulletproof because you fundamentally have to change the way the operating system is made to solve that problem.
So let me ask you guys another question. I don't know if you saw this week. Is it gonna go? Let me post it for you guys. There you go. see this one?
No, I did not see this one.
Is that the thought behind this? Because I saw this announcement by IBM that they're creating a new corporate email system.
Which is interesting because they're in bed with Apple right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So is this Notes 5.0? No.
That was my first thought. Is this what version of Notes are they on now? I don't know.
Well, Notes was actually I thought Notes was a really good product for its day. Unfortunately, I think they stopped investing in it and just sort of keep it, it's been on life support for the longest time. Maybe this is why.
Mm-hmm.
So 1994. Oh, I can't remember the email that we were on. When I was at IBM, we were on this email system that it's famous throughout IBM, right? And in 95, we bought Lotus. And Lotus at the time had 95% of the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Between Lotus Notes, which great secure product, and Lotus Spreadsheet, 95% of the marketplace. By the time I left in 98, nobody was using Lotus Notes. Nobody was using.
It was crushed.
Nobody was using Lotus Spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that was also a really good product.
Yeah.
Lotus Spreadsheets.
I thought I used to love Lotus. It was a really good product.
Never evolved.
One,
never
two, three.
evolved.
Well, that was the problem. It never evolved. They thought it just did what it did. It was a good tool. It did what it did, but they were just a victim of what else happened in the marketplace with their two big competitors.
Do you guys remember those days of the spreadsheet wars with Quattro Pro?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I was at I was at Novell back when they bought WordPerfect because they were going to go head to head with Microsoft in the office productivity space.
And they both died.
Yeah, and that was a losing proposition.
That was another one, right? Because WordPerfect, right? WordPerfect 4.2 had 95% of the world's business of corporate customers.
Yes.
And then the new one, the 5.0, just killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm looking at this article that you sent over, which is named IBM Latest to Try to Fix Email. IBM, what is IBM doing these days?
That's a good question. Now, my first reaction when I saw this announcement this week was, man, these guys are really falling down the tree. I thought, they're already like about to fall out of the Fortune, I think 50 or Fortune 10 for the first time ever. And then I was like, and now you're releasing an email client?
Yeah, but what do they do? What do they do?
What does IBM do?
Yeah, what do they do?
They're a services company.
Well, what does that mean? Services company clean windshields?
Well, at this point, I think anything to generate revenue and build up that stock price again.
They've really turned themselves into like an Accenture, right?
Yeah, they're more of an Accenture. Look, they've shed almost all their hardware, right? With this last Lenovo sale.
Lenovo's been happy to pick it all up. They just picked up their x86 business, right? That was the latest one.
They just don't know what they're getting themselves into, Lenovo.
Yeah.
I think Lenovo's going to do fine with the server business, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think they make a pretty decent product for a laptop still. They didn't kill the X series laptops. I can't really speak for their other ones like the IdeaBooks and their consumer products, but their X series stuff, the business grade stuff, is still decent.
So let's talk about that discussion in the enterprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that you're running a 10 to 20,000 people company.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to buy servers, David.
Yeah.
Whose servers do you buy and why?
Whose servers do I buy and why? To be honest, well, you're asking kind of the wrong person this, but my thought is I buy things based. If I was in that, to me, servers are commoditized at this point. I don't see a lot distinguishing them. I don't care about all the special sauce that every manufacturer claims they have, right? So the reality is I'm going to buy off specs, probably buy white boxes, and probably stick them in there. I don't care about brand. I just care about what kind of support I'm going to be able to get for them.
So sourcing says you have to buy from the top 5 companies. Who do you buy from?
Well, that's going to be HP, IBM. Oops, hang on. HP, IBM, Dell, Lenovo,
those
Cisco.
But why are you buying? Based on what?
I would probably, actually, to be honest, if I was building out a data center, I'd probably really look at the new Cisco stuff.
I think that most companies, and this is the reason why I didn't ask you, Steve, which I'll ask you for now, is what do you think people buy? 20,000, 30,000 people company from the top 5, who do you buy from?
I would say right now it is either Cisco or HP.
Based on what?
Just based on their converged platforms and their ability to more efficiently run virtual OSs or hypervisor technologies.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that most of the decisions at that point are made on dollars.
Yeah, and it's dollars. It's low
That's
dollars.
what I mean. It's commodity. It's who you're going to get the best deal from. Do you really care?
Right. So, and I want to go back to the discussion that you just had a couple seconds ago, David, when you said that the Lenovo's sitting in a good spot.
People who have been buying the Lenovo X series servers are going to continue to buy them, not just, I think, because they're used to their entire portfolio of products that are around those things. They're just going to pick them up. They're going to continue to do it.
I see people buying differently. I see people buying of, I need X amount of compute power, put it out to bid, whoever comes up lowest wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem in that space. It's Marco. It's the people. You know, David sitting in his position, he has probably some authority to make that, right? But if you're in a big enterprise, Fortune 50, Fortune 200 enterprise, that's going straight to procurement, and it's a bidding war.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and they get what they get. No, I agree. I just think it also depends on workloads.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other part of it.
So that's the Lenovo thing. So that makes perfect sense the way IBM got rid of that business.
Yeah, let somebody else fight that to the bottom.
Right.
Or do you just go cloud and not worry about buying more servers?
I think it's the same thing. If you go cloud, it's still the same box.
It's commodity, which I think is the first thing I said, that it's a commodity business.
And I agree with you. I think we're in agreement. I just think that IBM got rid of that because they couldn't make the margin.
I think there's two reasons. They couldn't make the margin, and I think number two is they put so much money into SoftLayer, right, as their cloud platform and cloud direction. They don't want to be I think the risk of all of these hardware and software players is you can't be a cloud provider and also be the guy providing the hardware, right?
Well,
I think it clouds it clouds the decision.
Very good.
Steve, don't you think that the cloud is the next commodity?
Oh yeah,
it already is a commodity.
It's the next race to the bottom, right?
Right. So if I'm in the cloud business, right? Does it really matter what do I do? I mean, does it really matter? And remember that company that we talked about last week? Was it Snowflake?
Yes.
So they took my perfect idea of a business and actually executed on it. Because I always thought that the people who would make money would be the carriers. That could, multiplex somebody behind them. I think that, to me, just a matter of time before the carriers take over cloud.
Yeah, I think
that's what's happening already. The carriers all have clouds at this point.
Yeah, you see, my cousins over at Verizon doing that, right?
Right.
Right. So, it's interesting. But going to the other side of IBM's business, I don't think that IBM is a great consulting company.
No.
Right? I mean,
well, they've always been a skunk work. Even though they claim they're consulting, they've always been more of a skunk works with projects, but they've had the enterprise brand in place.
Right. They got the brand in place, but if you're thinking of an Accenture play, when was the last time you say, well, we're going to bring in IBM to take care of this?
Well, I think the big companies bring them into a lot of bids. I don't know what they're winning, but they're bringing them into many, many bids.
Yeah.
I think it's a dead man walking company.
Yeah, they've definitely got some issues. They need a rebirth.
Well, I think that's what this SoftLayer Bluemix thing is for them. I don't know if you guys have seen what they're doing with Bluemix, but I think what they're trying to do is to appeal to the mid-market and startups to try to rebirth themselves as a more younger, fresher brand, and that's the whole reason why they're doing this cloud stuff. Because right now, anyone, if you have a startup, right, Marco, you and I, let's say we have a startup, and we're looking for a place to build our apps, park our infrastructure, and a tool chain to use in order to grow the business.
Yep.
Would we really consider IBM with what we know about their tools, the price of doing business with them as a startup, when there's a ton of free stuff out there and other things that we can use? Most likely we just go to AWS.
Yeah, free stuff scares me these days. I see there's not one day that doesn't go by where I get an email from a company saying, "Yeah, can you please move your crap out of my servers because we're shutting down the doors."
Yeah. But there's so many of them out there. If you architect your business as a startup so it's transportable and modular, you could just hop from one to the other without impacting your clients.
That's where Snowflake comes in.
I know that. That's why I'm saying that.
Right?
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think it's a great business. And they're going to see all their providers go out of business and come down to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And they're going to help them go out of business.
Yep.
Well, that's what cloud is doing for hardware, right?
Yep.
If you're sitting, going back to your decisions. Now, if you're sitting in, say, pharmaceutical, the usual stuff, BFSI, banking, financial services, insurance, and others, you're probably not going to go cloud. Or it's going to be, you're going to call it cloud, but it's actually a private cloud, which is a data center that you own with the provision layer.
All right.
At this point, does it really matter at the level who you go with? I think what's more important is how you handle your network.
And what do you mean by that, Marco?
Well, if you go across to, because even if you go with a Snowflake, right? The connectivity between you and your data is where the crucial hop comes along, right?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, okay.
Because some of these, like, I spent, and you and I were talking about data center, I spent some time with some data center folks who really enlightened me on the need to put your data center near the pipe and power. You can't just put a data center anywhere.
No, you can't. Well, I think that's an interesting comment, Marco, because I think you see some of the other bigger players in the data center space focusing more on connectivity and to that matter, direct connectivity to the various cloud platforms, direct private secure connectivity to the Amazons, to the Azures, right, to Google.
But you mean like VPC services where you're nailing down your own circuit and using your own IP addressing for that environment? Or are you talking about the cloud giving you your own block of dedicated hardware to run on inside of the block and you know where your stuff physically lives?
No, I'm talking about you having a direct connection from your enterprise into Amazon or Google's or Microsoft's data center cloud fabric.
Yeah,
right?
dark fiber going from point to point.
Yeah, so you are never traversing the public internet to get to your virtual private cloud in their data centers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the good examples of that, I think probably the best example of that, if you look at what they're doing, is Equinix, right? You guys probably see them. They're a pretty big player in the financial services space.
Sure.
Right? They've got direct connections into some of the exchanges and other data players in the financials, and now they're mirroring that into the cloud, right? Because everybody's got the same concern. They want secure. They want to be in the cloud, but there's no way they're traversing the public internet and taking their chances, right?
But isn't it just private lines all over again?
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, it's the same concept as private lines to data centers.
Yeah.
And that's what I think there's a lot of capacity there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of capacity. It's not something. It doesn't cost what it used to cost to do this.
That's right.
To figure out how to get to one place to the other without reinventing it. So that's what I think the data centers are going through. And also power is an issue.
Yes.
Power's a big issue, and I think regardless of your cloud infrastructure, power and cooling are issues.
Yeah.
So those are the things that shows on the data center side. But going back to what we were talking about IBM before, bringing it full circle a little bit, is where is IBM going in the future?
Well, they're evolving, right? They did their deal with Apple, right, recently.
Mm-hmm.
What deal with Apple?
They did the deal with Apple, I guess, to work on all these beacon type technologies and whatnot, and to basically make the Apple stuff more enterprisey.
Right.
They're consulting with them on that, and they've put together a partnership to do that. A lot of that's wrapped around beacons and enterprise.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on the ability of that to work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we all are because we know IBM, but
Because you can't work, and IBM works best when it's built here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
right, and that's what I meant by skunkworks before.
But I don't think you can do skunkworks if you only own the consulting layer, which is what I think they are.
Yeah. Well, that's all they've got
Good
left,
point.
really.
But I think they're trying to work with the best that they have, put the best spin on it, and get the company moving in the right direction again. And I do think it's a good idea with what they're doing with the rebranding to go after more other businesses to make things more appealing. I just don't know if it's going to be too little too late to kind of help them change their direction and their perception in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Look, every 20 years or so, IBM falls on its butt, and I think it's time for IBM to have that, 50% loss of stock price, fire a whole bunch of people, and rejuvenate itself. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I guess
by the
time will
way,
tell, right? We'll see over the next year or so what happens there.
and by the way, I think Apple's in the same position.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I think that the management of Apple needs to rejuvenate itself.
Yeah.
If I see Eddie Q with his stomach hanging out one more time, sure, put something over it. I think because it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that just talks for what they've been doing with their product releases.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen any. I still like their stuff, but I haven't seen any innovation coming out of them.
Well, that's just my point. I mean,
Right.
even if you look at the management over there, and we're only talking about not the consumerization of it, right? Because it's not because they become the new HP,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they become the HP that everything is relied upon one product. You know what the product that HP is laying on? It's printer ribbons, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
Yeah,
their moneymaker.
right. And Apple is what? What's the moneymaker at Apple?
It's got to be the iPhones,
That's
right?
it. It's just the iPhone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Because frankly, that the new Mac Pro laid an egg,
Mm-hmm.
right?
There was a Mac Pro.
Yeah, the new Mac Pro exactly. Mac Pro laid an egg. They're not making money on the iMacs, and the iPad's failing.
Yeah.
I mean, what version of what iPad do you have, Steve?
I've got the iPad Mini, but it's the second generation one. It's not one of the last ones that came out.
You don't have an iPad Air?
Nope.
Do you need it?
Nope. I still have an iPad 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is my iPad. Nexus 7.
Yeah, there you
That's a different
gosh.
issue. Because you can get a Nexus nowadays for $45.
Well, that's my
In fact,
point. And just you can buy a new one every year if you want.
Yeah.
But do you really need a MacBook Air? I mean, not an iPad Air.
Yeah.
I think there's a marketplace for it. There's people buying it. I don't see the need for it personally.
No,
Not
I have
for
a
what they're
Surface.
charging,
There was a note.
which is getting better by the day, right?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Surface.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Oh, the Surface.
But it's getting better by the day.
Yeah.
There was a note that somebody sent me from Starwood. Starwood is getting rid of all their desktops and laptops in favor of phones and iPads or tablets. I don't know what kind it was. I think the problem is that you still can't do Excel.
Yeah, it's still kind of hard to do those. I mean, the new release of Office 365 and things have made it better, but it's still not like doing it on your desktop, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's still a little too clunky.
So it's interesting, but I don't see that the iPad's going to be a moneymaker for them. I think they're selling them, but I don't see people using them.
Yeah, I see only a handful of people using them, and I will tell you this: I know we've bashed on these poor guys, but these Surfaces, I see more and more of them in the enterprise every week that goes by.
Why?
Um, I,
Because let me give you my opinion first. They fill a different niche.
yeah,
They fill a niche that I can go to work and put it on a big monitor.
yep,
I can take it home and on the way home use it.
yep.
I can get home and put it on a big monitor there.
That's exactly my use case, by the way.
Right, exactly. And you know, nothing for nothing. I'm a little bit passionate about this, David.
Yeah.
I think that we started talking about that the moment you and I met.
Yeah.
Okay, the way that they have to have some sort of like slider of an iPhone that can do that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that they're just, and I'm not faulting, um, Apple for this because Samsung could do it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the moment somebody says we're gonna have an iPhone that you can put in a big monitor, whenever you get home and then traveling, you're done.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
with enough processing and they can run the applications well enough, and you're good. You're done.
But
well, that's
you can get a, I'm sorry, David. You can get a quad phone right now, right, David?
Yeah.
you can get quad phones, and they're more powerful, and 64-bit phone architectures in the market is hitting the market pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now, I mean, you have to be a complete geek in order to use it, but there's still, if you remember, the first attempt at doing this in any level of reality was Motorola had the Motorola Atrix phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the Atrix phone, which, by the way, funny enough, they pretty much killed the whole program that was behind this because they couldn't sell it. And you can buy this stuff really cheap if you're so inclined now. But basically, the Atrix phone was a Android phone that had a full version of Ubuntu for the most part installed on the second half of it. They partitioned the OS. You connected it to a dock, and when you got home and connected it to that dock, it became a full laptop, or the equivalent of like a Chromebook for a laptop, to be
That's
honest.
what it's
Which
doing.
was cool stuff, but real geeky, not quite enough horsepower back then, a little early to market on it. And then if you go to look at what Ubuntu's been doing, they have this Ubuntu phone, and they have something called Ubuntu for Android, which is basically you get your standard Android build on your Android device that you have now. You re-image it with this thing, which already we're getting way too geeky and complex. But the reality is, once you have that, you can go to your TV that has wireless MHD in it, which is a standard protocol to communicate with monitors that's being used, standard Samsung type protocol. And once you have that, your phone becomes a full-blown Ubuntu desktop with all the apps that you get from it, the full LibreOffice suite, local storage, cloud storage, all the stuff you want to do, and you just need a keyboard and mouse.
Well, I
So
think
that's that device we've been talking about. Just I don't know how the market is for that.
yeah.
I think the market is huge. I'm sorry, Steve, you were saying something?
I was just going to say, I think it's interesting is, I know we touched on Microsoft giving away the 365 suite a few weeks back to the Android users and to the iPhone users.
Right.
Maybe that's the thought, right? It's, these phones are eventually going to become like the desktop, and we're going to put it everywhere we can as fast as we can for free, so we don't lose, we don't lose their base. Yeah.
Then you're just working with a freemium model, right? What can you charge for extra? But here's the
Right.
point. I think that everything that we need to do that is here today, and I think that they're just not letting us use it.
Mm-hmm.
To save the laptop business or the iPad Air business, they don't let us use it. But I think it's here now.
Well, it is, but there's some barriers to market entry right now. Part of it's wanting to save the business. Part of it is we like to think that it's here, but look how buggy things like just desktops are with getting them to work properly. When you start getting into embedding these things into TVs and having automatically just connecting work, things don't work as advertised. They work for the most part, but not as advertised. When I have a Chromecast in the house, it's cool. I like it. I watch movies on it. I do stuff with it. But the reality is, that is not exactly what I'd call a truly consumer-ready product after actually being a user of it for almost a year now. It's cool. I like it for the price point, I think it's great, but that functionality and Apple's functionality to AirPlay and stuff should just be embedded into monitors and devices, and whatever phone you have, it should just work. You shouldn't have to monkey around with plugging something in, connecting to your network, making sure it works, seeing what apps work and don't work with it, and it's just not ubiquitous yet. That's the reality.
And that's why I think the Surface 3 is working so well in the marketplace, Steve. I mean, you use it all the time.
Yeah, it's my laptop, it's my desktop now. It's my single device.
But the problem is it's expensive, right?
It is very expensive right now.
But what about something like the Yoga or some of these other devices that do the same thing? I mean, you think that has appeal and those things will sell well?
I don't think
Or is the Surface 3 the only decent Microsoft hybrid device that's out there?
nobody wants a Yoga.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Nobody wants a Yoga because the Yoga is really a keyboard detachable laptop.
Yeah.
that's all it is with a touchscreen.
Yeah.
And is the touchscreen a big of a deal for you, Steve?
It's a nice to have, but it's not that big a deal, right?
Yeah. See, I think that the whole touchscreen is not relevant.
But when you have a tablet, like
Right,
an iPad, you're using your touchscreen only.
right,
So they're appealing to those users.
right, but the iPad touchscreen is different because first of all, you could pick it up and never seen an iPad and be able to use it. You can't do it on the Nexus 7.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do it on
The Surface.
No, not on the Surface. On the
No.
Android.
On the Android ones?
You can't. There's no F and Y.
I've seen people use the Android devices like a Samsung tablet and be able to pick it up and use it.
I get it, but you can't give that to a child or an old person and use it right away.
Yeah.
I disagree. I've seen my nieces and nephews. You know, when my niece was 3 years old, she was playing with my Nexus tablet.
Okay.
And she was able to pick it up right away, and she was downloading and installing all sorts of interesting games. She's a smart kid, but still,
I was gonna say she must be a genius because
well, she's my niece. I'd like to think so, but the reality is, I saw her doing that when she was very young.
because I pick up my and I'm still confused. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's nice to have the touch screen, right? To David's point, when you're in tablet mode or whatever, but it's
Right.
I mean, I would say at least over 70% of the time, my Surface is in the dock, and I'm using the keyboard and mouse.
Right, because you can be much more productive that way.
Yeah.
But what would a kid do? How would a kid use it? That's the real question.
Well, the kid would not use a Surface. First of all, for two reasons. One, because it's $2,200.
Yeah. My kids aren't touching my Surface.
Right, but it's about $2,200, right? Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they'll come down in price.
Yeah. But I don't think it's designed for them. It is clearly designed for the enterprise.
No, I think it's a business tool. I mean, my marketing person has one, and she absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
And if we've learned nothing from the election in the NFL, they make a great iPad stand.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That was awesome. But
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we've killed this one.
I'd say it's cooked.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. I think we spoke enough about trash talk about everybody out there. This show is still not sponsored by Sprinkler in any way, shape, or form. I do have my stuff this week. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Steve, David.
Yeah. Speaking of cooked, have fun cooking your turkeys this week.
Oh, your duck is cooked, Steve.
Yeah. It's
duck.
cooked.
Thank you, everybody, for joining from Marco, David, and Steve, and our missing West Coast connection.
Missing
Chris.
link now.
Yeah. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Happy Turkey Day, all.
Happy